We're taking a break from the wheel this week to finally platinum my favourite Star Wars game of all time. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order was a game that I was very much late to the party on, only playing it for the first time a couple of years ago, but I was blown away by how incredible this game was. At that time, however, whilst I still enjoyed going for achievements and trophies, I wasn't the completionist I am today, and so once I beat Fallen Order on the Xbox, that was it. I didn't go for 100% because it just seemed so tedious and sort of left it at that. Times have changed though, and after seeing the game suggested quite a few times for the Platinum Randomizer, and knowing myself that if I didn't Platinum Fallen Order before Jedi Survivor released later this month, then my interest in going for this Platinum would simply fall off a cliff. I decided that I needed to get this done, and done quick, to prepare myself properly for Survivor's release. And well, here we are. But before we jump into the video, if you have no idea what Jedi Fallen Order is all about, here's the basics. Our protagonist, Cal Kestis, managed to survive Order 66 as a young Padawan, and this world is set about 5 years after that event. Cal has been in hiding ever since, but through acts of kindness has to reveal himself, causing the Empire and their Inquisitors to come down and suss everything out. The second and ninth sister discover Cal is a Jedi, and we narrowly escape with the help of Seer and Grease, who are looking to reform the Jedi Order. To do this, we need to access a tomb with a list of Force-sensitive children, and that's what this adventure is all about. Fallen Order is a third-person action-adventure primarily focused on hacking and slashing, with some Souls-like and Metroidvania tropes. Super basic description, but if you're going into this game completely blind, it's all you really need to know. But if you do want my more in-depth thoughts about the game itself, I do have a video on that as well. If you do enjoy the video, be sure to leave it a like, comment below some more games you'd like to see me platinum, plenty of other Star Wars games to platinum especially, subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos, and let's begin. Now, fans of the channel may have realized this, but if you don't know, I'm not the biggest fan of a long, tedious cleanup after I've finished up with the story. My interest levels, for whatever reason, usually drop right off after the story is all said and done, in particular if the game has a lot of tedium in that cleanup, like numerous collectibles. It's why, when possible, I'd rather just try and get the Platinum Trophy to pop as the credits roll. Sometimes it's not possible, or it's not that big a difference either way, and I will just play the story and then do all the optional stuff later. But it is possible here in Fallen Order. You just need to be smart about when you attempt certain trophies so as to not waste your time unnecessarily, which means in the beginning, yeah, just keep progressing the story really until right about the last couple of missions.
There's only one way to find.
You okay?
Now, while I was going through mainly just blitzing away with the story, I made sure to keep an eye out for a few things, namely the combat related trophies as well as some simple customization trophies. That way I had an easier time to naturally knock out as many of these miscellaneous tasks as I could, rather than just sitting around and spawn farming these enemies. Which is why the first Phylac I saw, I made sure to let them kick me and give them a kick back. Defeated an enemy by swift kick in the ass. Defeated 50 enemies by reflecting their blast bolts back at them. I mean, this is a given, it's just so much fun to do. Parried 100 enemies. Sent 25 enemies into the abyss. Defeated an enemy with another enemy. Defeated 3 enemies in one lightsaber throw. Hacked a droid and let them kill an enemy. A tedious process with the probe droid. Much easier if you can hack the security droids. Defeated each type of bounty hunter. Hit a single enemy with each type of lightsaber. Customized my lightsaber completely. And Cal, BD1 and the Mantis as well. I've blown through these all rather quickly because again, as long as you know they exist, there are plenty of opportunities to grab these trophies naturally along the way, but it was after this point in the game that the real grind truly began. Fallen Order has a few big trophies, all revolving in some way or another about getting 100% on each planet, which is the reason I decided to just progress the story rather than exploring as much as I could early on and continuously hitting roadblocks. You need Cal to unlock all his Force powers and BD1 upgrades to make this as seamless an experience as possible, otherwise it's just an unnecessary level of backtracking in a game that already requires a lot of it to begin with. That's not to say when I got to a certain point I finally decided to start opening chests, finding secrets, force echoes, letting BD1 scan things or anything like that. I was still going off the beaten path when I felt it made sense, and I think by the time I got to the actual grind, most planets were at least 50% done with. But I wasn't trying to fully explore the map because you simply can't early on, and if you do, it's a good way to lose track of where the collectibles or secret passages may be hidden that you couldn't access. The best point in my mind to begin thinking about finally undertaking this completion grind is around the Ilum portion, or at least that was my first planet I managed to hit 100%. It's a straightforward planet, you can complete it your first time there, very little backtracking, and by this point you have all the abilities you need to get it done, so why bother coming back here if you don't need to? After the final boss on Dathomir though is when I fully committed to this tedium. Again, not really wanting to come back to Dathomir later because originally, it was my least favorite planet. That got overtaken pretty soon after though. I decided to start 100%ing each area on the planet, fully completing the map and all its nooks and crannies, finding all the chests, BD canisters, health and force upgrades, fighting the optional bosses, scanning anything I may have missed the first time around like the terrarium seeds, that sort of thing. Dathomir to complete honestly wasn't that bad though, to my surprise. It may not be my favorite planet to visit, but to 100%, yeah, not too bad, even grabbing our first collectible trophy around this time in the 75 Force Echoes. Bogano was much the same. It's a smaller planet, but there's a lot to find here. On Bogano, we managed to recruit all the crew members to the Mantis. Only one is missable, who is found here. Sliced off an Ogdo's tongue by force pulling it out, not just slowing them down when they do the tongue attack. Don't waste your time on that like I did, it doesn't work. Found all of BD1's encrypted logs. When he jumps off your shoulder, just let him scan whatever it is, it's important to him. Okay?
My friend.
Nabbed our last story-related trophy before the final mission, and by the time I was done on Bogano, my terrarium had now fully grown.
Hey kid, I've been meaning.
Here is where the grind became frustrating though, because after Bogano, I decided to head to Zepho and Kashyyyk before completing the last mission, and these planets are dreadful to complete, particularly Zepho, which was the next planet I went on to complete. But before I went around this convoluted map, my first focus here was to knock out the remaining combat trophies, since Zepho does have so many basic stormtroopers to fight here, making for some easy targets. So I farmed away with the same few enemies to get 100 precision evades, which slows down time when done successfully. Defeated an enemy with their own slowed blaster bolt. This took me far more attempts than I care to admit. I don't even really think the one that counted should have. Defeated 20 enemies with explosives. Defeated 25 enemies who are under empowered slow. Sounds familiar for some of you, I'm sure. And not a combat challenge that you need to farm, but still related, defeated 4 reskins of each planet's big monsters. But with the fun stuff out of the way, the true beast of Zepho revealed itself. This is an absolute pain to 100%. It's an enormous map, it's got multiple levels, very few meaningful shortcuts, the map feels unreadable at times, some areas had me running around like a headless chook just trying to find one small room to finally complete, and it's just not a fun time. I mean, it feels never ending, and one wrong move feels like you've just lost so much time to backtrack all the way back. It also doesn't help that with collectible trophies, there's no immediate trophy reward, so it just becomes a bit brain numbing with little to no trophy dopamine. I did unlock a couple of trophies though, thankfully, for exploring the crashed Venator, and found the last of BD stims. So at least it was something, but yeah, Zepho is dreadful. Kashyyyk isn't much better, but at least it's more straightforward, and again, it always helps when you're unlocking trophies along the way. Still a pain to realize I had missed one chest all the way up in the origin tree though, meaning I had to backtrack through the entire level. Here is where the fruits of our labor came through though, as we finally completed all of BD's holo maps and collected all chests and secrets.
You never fail to amaze me.
As I said, a long, tedious process, but it was finally done, and after the long trek back to the ship, I was ready to move on to the final mission and finish the game. I scanned the last enemy I needed to. These come pretty naturally, just make sure you don't push new enemies off a cliff that may be rarer, like myself. Completed the story, and once again, no platinum trophy. Man, I'm bad at planning these things out. So here's the thing, I miscalculated how much XP the final mission would earn me, or at least that I'd have access to after the final boss. I went in thinking I'd probably get a couple of skill points along the way, but by the time the credits rolled, I still needed to get one more skill point. So I headed back to Zepho. Why Zepho? Well, it has the most bounty hunter spawns of all the planets, and one bounty hunter kill can give you at least half a bar of XP. It took some time, but I finally got one to spawn, took care of business, unlocked my final Jedi ability that will never be used, the platinum followed, and my time with Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order was complete. So after 19 hours in total, once again 11 hours better than the guide estimate, I'm just an insane gamer. What did I think of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order's Platinum and the game in general? In terms of the game itself, it's still incredible. The story is compelling, visually the game is phenomenal, the soundtrack hits all the right notes, and Platinum requirements aside, it's a pure joy to play. The Platinum itself is also not that bad. Yes, I whinged a little bit towards the end, but that's because my time completing the other planets was nowhere near as much of a headache as the larger planets. Most of the trophies are a good time to go out and get though, the combat ones keep the gameplay feeling fresh, the various optional fights are a good time, it's just completing Zepho and Kashyyyk, two planets aesthetically I really enjoy that bring down my overall enjoyment. The collectibles aren't bad, it's no Ghostwire Tokyo, but it does tend to drag, and I don't really think there's any way around that. When it was all said and done though, I was really glad I finally got this platinum. I adore this game, and seeing it in my platinum collection now does bring a smile to my face. So would I recommend going for it yourself? Yeah I do. Thank you all so much for watching the video. Bit of a shorter video, but hey, some platinum journeys are a bit like that. Make sure if you did enjoy the video to leave it a like because it helps let me know that you enjoyed yourself. Comment below some more platinum suggestions. Shout out to the channel members Infamous Sir Hellfire, featuring Gagiano, Christian Vilgag, Cloud Connection, Kranatoko, Crumb Sparky, Driftum, Earlium, Gregors, Milk the Cow, and Pero. For that extra level of support, I truly do appreciate it. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. Go give my socials a follow if you fancy, at MayorHairBear, and I'll catch you all in the next video.